Now, in the 80th minute or later this season, Liverpool, they've allowed 11 goals, 4 of those being to draw the game, 6 of those being to lose the game, the most of any side in a single campaign in Premier League history. They've dropped 12 points because of these goals, and if they were to have gotten those 12 points, they'd currently be sat second, just one above Manchester City in the Premier League. But it seems to be a trend that is summing up the season for Liverpool, and Arne Slot agrees. Take a listen, everyone.
How do I sum this up? Same old story. Recently, we are picking up points because we've scored many times from set pieces. But what did not change in the last 5, 6, 7 games is that we struggle and find it very hard to score from the open play chances that we do create. Not as much as I would like from all the ball possession we have, but enough and far more than the other team. But end result, we score 1 and they score 2, and indeed another time in extra time. So it sums up our season again in this game as well.
Geoff, what do you make of what Arne Slot just said there? He looks a bit defeated, doesn't he? Like he doesn't have answers.
Yeah, it's more his demeanour than his actual words, Hannah. Yeah, he said it's the same old story. Virgil van Dijk said afterwards as well, we were sloppy, we were slow, we were predictable. It's strange because I watched that game and then I switched to Barca and I watched the highlights this morning. Liverpool had, I would say, at least half a dozen good chances, really good chances, convertible chances. I mean, Curtis Jones won. The ball comes to him. I don't know if you've seen it, Charlie. I'll describe it to you. It comes to him. Yeah. He stood on the goal line. But what? He chests it instead of
yeah, but it was Cody Gakpo's foot that comes underneath his chest and kicks the ball. When all you have to do is just have it touch, basically just glance off your chest and it goes into the back of that. He's on the line. I think it was harder to miss than score in that instance.
Yeah, he couldn't do that again if he tried. But
just I mean,
it was a strange game. It was strange. Liverpool, you'd be very frustrated. I don't think it's necessarily. I mean, that performance, they're not happy with the performance.
2 defenders that have actually looked better with him and Konate in their previous 3 matches, right? You think of the performances against Nottingham Forest. Yeah. They were the only 2 that really set up the platform and had the right intensity and the mentality to go and eke out and really scrap together that win. But it's just a calamity of errors that seem to creep in right when you think Liverpool are just going to slingshot and just own the moment of getting into top 4 and staying in the top 4, right? Making Champions League football a reality in terms of qualifying outright through the standing. But I'm curious, Geoff, you've watched Premier League for decades, right? Have you ever seen a reigning Premier League champion look this uncertain, look this inconsistent, and look this poor in moments like Liverpool?
Yes, but it's a different story. Leicester City's drop-off was... but it doesn't take away how big Liverpool's drop-off has been. And I think, and you add the elements to that, the players that they signed, the quality that they signed in the summer, you thought they would kick on. They would go on. They would go from a position of strength. But they never really strengthened the defence. I mean, right now, Mark Gay is looking like a £50 million player for Liverpool. I mean, on opening goal, Konate and Van Dijk get rolled together. Yeah. He does the pair of them.
Well, they did strengthen the back line because they lost Trent Alexander-Arnold, so they brought in Frimpong, which hasn't gone according to
that's not strengthening.
In their
theory,
eyes.
A like
and then Milos Kerkez at left back, again, not an improvement. So you'd feel pretty confident to say Van Dijk, you're not going to replace him. We're gonna extend his contract. He's our guy, even with his age. And then Konate is another guy. You felt comfortable that those 2 as the center backs, you're good. The outside backs have been poor. Now, we haven't even got into Florian Wirtz and how long it's taken him to try and get accustomed to the Premier League and this team. You spend money on Alexander Isak, who you would think is going to light the league on fire and be the player that we thought he could be given his record with Newcastle. That's a flop so far, right? And then you're saying, okay, Hugo Ekitike has been sensational for them. I think he's been better than what many people thought he'd be given his price tag. but it's not enough. I'm looking at their 11 Premier League goals for Hugo Ekitike. The next one's Cody Hakpo at 6. The next one's Mo Salah at 5. The next one's Szoboszlai, who's probably been their best player consistently throughout this season, at 4. That's just not good enough for Liverpool. You can't tell me that's title contender right there.
There's a lot of talk, Charlie, about them amongst the fans wanting them to start Gamoa, because he brings a vitality. The youngster, he brings an energy.
Yeah, there is an energy.
And one word, if you took all of the comments from the players and from the manager last night, it was a stodgy performance. It just had no zip to it. And maybe if they brought the youngster in, that would give it a bit of vitality. Sometimes in a team, it just needs something to a spark. It needs a spark, because where they're in the table, you've got Chelsea and, believe it or not, Brentford right on their tails.
He's supremely talented.
Yeah.
That's no doubt.
Well, Liverpool are 5th in the Premier League, and it looks like that 5th spot is going to get a Champions League spot.
Probably.
Do they need to make that top 5 in order for Arne Slot to be safe, or do you think them making a deep run in the Champions League will be enough?
Yeah, I think they have an opportunity to surprise some people in the Champions League, right? So I think the Premier League is where my biggest concern is, and if we're going to potentially talk about panic, there's reason to panic and reason to be concerned, which, thank you very much, production. Let's get into the panic meter. So I wouldn't say RIP for Liverpool in the top 4 just yet, or top 5, because there's still a long way to go. They play a lot of the same teams that are competing for that. But I see a Liverpool side that has work to do, and a lot of work to do.
Do you see them going through Champions League?
I see them beating Galatasaray and then losing the very next round.
To PSG.
Yeah.
Or Chelsea.
But
they just don't have the depth defensively to go week in, and game out, right? And that's why we're seeing the inconsistencies with the back line. We're seeing the inconsistencies in midfield. And for me, my biggest question mark is Arne Slot. The players are one thing, but Arne Slot, we have to start questioning him as a manager, because yes, when you win the Premier League, you get credit in the bank, and we've talked about this significantly, right? Arne Slot, as the reigning Premier League manager, winning manager, he will get credit in the bank for Liverpool and Liverpool fans. But for me, I think he's starting to lose some of that credit in the bank right now because of moments like this, because this keeps happening again. And if he doesn't get top 4 or top 5, then maybe that credit starts disappearing altogether, and now we're having a more difficult conversation the following season about is he going to be the Liverpool manager? If they're not top 5, depending on how they do in the Champions League, yes. If they make a run in the Champions League, then yes.
They don't win the Champions League and they don't finish top 5.
If Liverpool don't finish top 5 and they lose to Galatasaray,
no, let's say they beat Galatasaray, and then they beat PSG, and then they lose.
Well, to my
they're not in Champions League football next year if they don't win Champions League.
To my point about them making a run in the Champions League, right? So we're talking semantics, which I just said. If they make a run in the Champions League.
There's no semantics.
If they make,
they don't
let
win
me
Champions
finish.
League.
Let me finish. If they make a run in the Champions League, right? You can still make a run and not win the Champions League.
Right.
Arsenal did that last year, right?
Yeah, but they were in Champions League.
If you make a run in the Champions League and don't get top 5, Arne Slot will still be the manager of Liverpool next year. It depends where they finish in that top 5. If they finish 6th, he will still have a job. Well, if they finish 8th and worse, then we're having more difficult conversations.
So no Champions League football.
Yeah.
In that comment, he will still be the manager next season.
I think he will be.
If we look at the Premier League, the top 5, though, the odds to finish top 5, Manchester United are there with the best odds, then Aston Villa, Liverpool, Chelsea. Jeff, who do you think will miss out on that 5th spot? Because at the moment, it's Chelsea who are sat in 6th.
Oh, is this the hospital passport? Looking at the table right now, I mean, I worry about Villa. They're a bit on the slide.
And it's interesting because Man U, Villa, Liverpool, Chelsea, they all play each other towards the end of the season.
You'd have to look at the I mean, you're throwing a blanket for me. It's between Manchester United. I think will be fine because they've still got momentum.
Can I give you Liverpool's remaining fixtures?
Maybe go on,
so
Charlie.
Home against Tottenham, at Brighton, home against Fulham, at Everton, home against Crystal Palace, at Man United, home against Chelsea, at Villa, home against Brentford. That is not an easy.
That's tough.
That is not an easy fixture schedule.
That's tough.
The list is tough.
Yeah, but
Aston Villa has been slipping though, and we talk about their depth all the time. Could you see them dropping out of the top 5. But look, they have a get out of jail free card though. But if they win the Europa League, they qualify for Champions League next season.
But look at the 3 of those clubs, Charlie. Villa, Liverpool, and Chelsea. I can't believe we're sat here saying how consistent Manchester United are, which is great for Manchester United fans. But I would say the thing that Villa, Liverpool, and Chelsea have in common is they are all consistent in their inconsistency. So you'd be a very, very brave betting man to say who's going to miss out from those 3 if you're backing out the 4. Manchester United look the most solid.
Yeah.
They look the most solid. It's those 3.
Villa's next 4 matches.
Come on.
At Lille, Europa League.
They've got Chelsea tonight.
At United. Yeah, Chelsea, Lille, United, Lille. Those are the next 4 matches. That could be the end of their slip. I mean, start of their massive slip and end of really Champions
Can we
League.
make a case? Can we make a case with no European football for Brentford to nip in?
Oh, I love that.
No, can we? Or am I just talking nonsense as usual?
Well, they're 7 points
top
off
5?
third place right now, aren't they?
Yeah, but they're only
Into the top 5?
Yeah, they're only 4 points off of Liverpool.
I think no chance.
Clip that up.
I think no chance.
Well, Charlie says no chance. We'll come back at the end of the season and review that one, Charlie.
Thanks for watching this video from Morning Footy. For all news and insights regarding leagues around the world like EFL, Serie A, and all UEFA competitions, both men's and women's, don't forget to sign up for Paramount Plus.